So Python and Pandas. What is Pandas? Pandas is more like one of the Python tools for data analysis, data visualization. And as you know, Python, as I mentioned before, is a very versatile language. You can use it for the web. When you talk about web, talk about Django, backend framework. And Python is also used for desktop app creation, several things. Python is used in IoT, automation. I'm a DevOps person, so I use Python a lot for automation. So that means whatever aspect, whatever career field you find yourself, you tend to use Python probably one way or the other. So Python is very important. So let's move on to the business of the day. So your host today, I and Laura, and taking you through this event. So the outline for today, we have intro and agenda, which we've done earlier. So we have intro to data visualization, which I'm going to take care of and do that. And also we have put along after it just immediately. So you can see the time, it's just 10 minutes. I'm just going to use 10 minutes to do that. Then Laura will take it from me. So we have also a quiz and a giveaway. And after that, wrap up, a little bit of networking, and move on. So what is data visualization? That's our business for today. Data visualization, knowing what data visualization is. So the first question we need to ask is, what is data? Data, in a simple word, is the new gold. Data is a new gold, and data went from being scarce, very scarce. For now, data is only available to some specific people. But now data is very abundant, cheap, but very difficult to process. So that brings the concept of big data. So when you have a lot of data and data becomes so cheap, it becomes so difficult to process, it becomes so difficult to even to analyze. That's where the data visualization comes in. So data visualization is just simply putting those data you're able to get, those many data, telling a story with it using visual elements like you see on your screen. We have pie charts, we have bar charts, we have pictogram, we have histogram, we have several things. We have scattered plots, several types of visualization. So, and they are all used, to visualize data. Basically, data visualization is telling a story, about the data using these visual tools. So imagine if you could probably as a traveler. I'm trying to relate, tell you how data visualization is important to you, regardless of what you do. As a traveler, what about if you have the ability to check for a data of the place, and you see that there is an increased crime rate in a particular location? That tells you that place is a dangerous zone. Travel to that place. What about if you're able to see a graph that tells you the number, the COVID-19 prevalence in the location? You're able to see that through a graph, and it kind of gives you a warning not to go to that location. So that's one of the many importance of data visualization. Data visualization also helps you as a company. Probably you have several departments in the company, and you want to allocate budgets to several departments, and you see that when you are bringing data analysts and they try to visualize data for you, you're able to see that, okay, this department, they don't need this fund at this point, and based on their activity, they don't need this fund. I'm going to push this chunk of fund to the engineering team. I'm going to push this chunk of fund to this part. So with visualization, you're able to make informed decision about your company, about your business. So I can go all day, telling you the importance of data visualization, but I'll be so exhaustive. So now we're going to go into the code session proper, and we're going to use Python and Panda to see how on our tests, our real life data will be extracted from New York crime data, and we're going to analyze to see the prevalence of crimes in setting the high rate of crime in so this is what we're going to do, more like the end result of what we're going to achieve today. So we're going to see, okay, we have car thefts, so percentage, we have breakdown, burglary, assault, robbery, So we're going to use this real life data. This is a real life data, and we're going to analyze it using Python and Pandas. So without wasting time, I'd like to bring in Laura. So before you start, there are probably some instructions on the page on how to get started setting up your environment for this. But just in case we don't have that, Google has made life easy for us. So we're going to use, if you don't have Jupyter Notebook installed on your system or Python, you can just go to Collab. Laura, probably you can share the link to Collab, Google Collab. So once you share the link to Google Collab, so you can use that as your notebook to follow along. So all you just need is just the internet, and you'll be able to follow along perfectly with this talk. So thank you, and I can see a lot of people here. So thank you very much for joining. So Laura, over to you.
Deji, actually, I'm curious. So I know you're more into the sort of automation side of things and DevOps, yes. Right?
Yes.
Do you? I know you yourself. You don't do data visualization as much, but do you work with data visualization, or do you get data visualization from team members? Like, what's your experience?
Okay, basically, my interaction with data visualization. Of course, I use data visualization a lot. Okay. For instance, I'm into DevOps, and apart from using Python for automation, you also need to monitor your system. Stack driver monitoring, that Google Cloud, GCP, or Azure, or any cloud. There's a section called the monitoring. So you can monitor traffic, inbound traffic to your website. You can monitor outbound traffic. You can monitor several things. So all those things are done with data visualization. So all you just need to do, you go to your dashboard, you set some parameters, and you have a dashboard of a data visualization of what you want to see. So from there, you can say, okay, I'm having more traffic from South Korea. So let me take my VM, my virtual machine, all my to a data center close to South Korea. So it helps you make informed decision. So that's one of the beautiful advantage of data visualization.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Nice. Real life perspective. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, in that case, let me get started then. So what we're going to do is now we're going to go into the actual meaty part, the sort of hands-on part. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pretend I am one of, just a regular person attending. So let me just share my full screen, and we're going to go from the bottom, really from the ground up. So let me, okay. So let me just share my whole screen basically, like so. Okay, and so Digi, can you see the just the regular screen now? Just the page, yeah, okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, I don't know about you, but my Anaconda, it takes a long time to load. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start at Jupyter. And while I'm waiting for that to load, while I'm waiting for that to sort of have its little development server, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the CSV file. And I do that on my own page over here. Let me just drop that in the chat. so everybody is on the same page as well. Okay, no, you haven't missed much at all. Somebody's just saying they hope they haven't missed much. No, okay. So here's the link to the website, and now downloading the CSV file over here, which is going to take us to this Google Doc.
Okay, Laura, I don't know if you can share the direct link, so you won't have to navigate through the whole website.
Yeah.
You can just share the direct link.
I can do that as well. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do that. Okay. So that's the link over here, and I'm just going to download that onto my desktop like so. And I'm going to download it as a comma separated values document, just on my desktop like here. And I'm going to make a new folder actually. I'm going to call it Crime NYC. And the file name is a bit long actually, so I'm just going to rename it. I'm just going to call it Crime. And then down here on the bottom where you save it, it should say separated values. So for me, it just says that in Korean because my computer is Korean, but it basically says it's a comma separated file. So I'm going to save that on my computer. So that's done. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to check my Jupyter. And Jupyter should have opened for you in a browser tab. Alternatively, if you can't use Jupyter, like Deji said, you can use Collab. And I'm just going to put the link for you as well. So Collab is over here. Okay. And I'm going back to my Jupyter notebook. Deji, can you see that I'm on Jupyter notebook now? Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So now I'm going to go into my desktop and I'm going to see my folder here, which is called Crime NYC. And the first thing that I want to do is I'm just going to check that the file downloaded properly actually, and I'm just going to open the file. And the reason why I just want to quickly go over the file is, so when I was researching for this meetup, I was downloading a file from the New York government website. And then I was trying to plot it and it just didn't work. And I couldn't figure out for the longest time why it wouldn't work until I realized that the CSV file that I had downloaded had a mix of numbers and strings in it. And so that's why it wouldn't show. So the first thing, maybe like a pro tip, is to check that your data actually is consistent, that you all have these numbers like so. Okay, so everything is looking good. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to make a new notebook. And what I want to do, so I go over here where it says new, and I'm already in a Python 3 environment. So I say, yeah, I want to create a new notebook. And what it does is it creates a new notebook. And then we're here, up here, we go to Untitled and we can rename it. For example, Pandas and Python, like so, or Python and Pandas, whatever you want to do. Okay, and then it's got a little title. So the next thing that I want to do is, I'm not sure if you know that when I was going through the Codecademy lessons, it doesn't actually mention explicitly that you can use Markdown, but you actually can. So what you can do is you can click on this file and you can use M for Markdown. And what it does is it changes to the
Okay, I don't know if you can also do probably a run through for people using Collab for them to get started. Like just quickly how they can set up on Collab as well.
Yeah, definitely. So what we can do, we can just say over here in file and we can say no, new notebook, like so. It's just going to wait. And it also creates a new file, and then you can reframe it. You can rename it here. You can say Python and Pandas. Oh, something here. Python and Pandas, like so. Yeah, and so same as before. So you have a little cell where you can input code, or you can also input text, okay, as you like. Okay, going back to our Jupyter notebook here. Okay, so the way you can use Markdown, if you wanted to do a title, you can use hashes, and it goes from heading 1 to heading 6. Let's just say we want a heading 1, Pandas and Python, like so. And if we wanted to have a line break, we can use BR. And then there are also several shortcuts that you can use. Okay, so if you want your cell to be a code cell where you write code, you use Y. If you want it to be a Markdown cell, you can use M as a keyboard shortcut. If you are in a file and you would like to delete that cell that you're currently working on, you can say DD. And if you wanted to use, if you wanted to insert a cell above your current one, you can use A. And if you wanted to insert a cell below your current cell, you can use B. And then if you want to run your cell, there is another shortcut. You can use the Control and Enter to run your current cell that you're on. Okay. So we're basically on a Markdown cell. So it's just going to display for a moment, and we can go Control Enter. So, okay. So that's what it does. It basically displays. Hold on. There we go. Okay, there we go. Then the other cool thing that you can do on Jupyter Notebooks is you can actually insert images. So we use B to have a new cell. We use M for Markdown. We can change the cell. Oh, where is it? Hold on. So we go into edit, we can say insert images, and we can even choose an image. So for example, if we wanted to do that, we could insert something here, like so. We say Control Enter and it displays an image, okay? So now that we've set up these parts, the first thing that we want to do is we want to import our libraries. So as a comment, you can use the hash key. And the first thing you can do is from matplotlib. So that's the data visualization library that we're using. We're saying import pyplot as PLT. So that's basically what they tell us on Codecademy. There's also another way to do this where you can say import matplotlib .pyplot as PLT. So both of these versions work. You can use either. Okay. And yeah, so once we've done that, we also want to import pandas. So we say import pandas as PD. Okay. And so we run this file, we run this cell. Okay. And we add another cell below here. So what we want to do first is we want to read in our data frame. So we can say df for data frame. And we say pd.read CSV, so underscore CSV. And then we use quotation marks. And now what we do is we go up one level. Let me just check where I put the file. So we are currently in desktop, and we're currently in the folder crime NYC. So what we do is we say /crime NYC. And now we say the title of our file, which is called crime.csv. Crime.csv. Okay, and hopefully that has worked. Let's see what happens. Okay, and if we say df and we run the whole thing, so now what we have is we have our data frame. Okay, so that's really the most important thing done. Is everybody following so far?
Okay, so what about those using the collab?
Yeah, we can do that as well. So we can just copy our code from here. And so we run that. And then we run in our data frame. Okay, wait. And then, hold on, let's have a look.
Yeah, I think you need to upload the file.
Oh, okay. Let's have a look. Okay. Let's try that again.
Okay, so you've uploaded the file, right? So you know what you're uploading is the CSV file, the CSV.
Right.
So that we can just call it in the file.
Okay. I was trying it earlier. It did work. PD.read CSV.
You just continue with the Jupyter.
Yeah.
So from there, you can all
I think it has to do with the pandas as PD. I think it has to do something with it not accepting it as an environment, because says here PD is not defined. Okay, let's just go on with Jupyter Notebooks for a moment. Okay, so we've got our data frame over here. And if we just want to add another file below. Okay, so that's our data frame here. And what we can do is we can just inspect it first of all. So what we can do, for example, is we can say df.shape. And what it does, it gives us the rows and the columns. So it has 8 rows and it has 22 columns. And then another thing we can do is we can have a look at the head and the tail, and it gives us the first couple of rows and the last couple of rows. So for example, head 2, okay, like so. And it also gives us a tail. So for example, df.tail, and it gives us the last bits at the bottom as well. All right, the other thing we can do is there is another function called info. And what info does is it gives us the data types that we have in our data frame. And so if we have a little look here, it tells us that while the offenses are basically object types, the rest of them are numbers. So that's what we want to work with so we can analyze them. Okay. And then there's another really interesting function that I had a look at. What we can do is we can say df.describe. And what it does then, what it does then is it gives us the count of the items, it gives us the mean, it gives us a standard variation, it also gives us 25, 50, and 75%, which you can use for interquartile ranges. And it gives us the minimum and the maximum amounts for each column. So that can be quite useful as well in a pinch. Okay. And then, let's have a look. Okay. Now, if you are in a pinch, if you really don't have any time at all, what you can already do is you can plot directly from your data frame. So for example, you could say df.plot, and then you specify the X and the Y axes. So for example, you can say the X column that you want to plot is the offenses. And the y-axis would be, for example, let's say the year 2000. And you can even specify a type. So for example, you could say kind, for example, you could say scatter, okay? And we can run that, and it gives us a little graph, but it's not very attractive. It doesn't really tell us that much. We can't really read the X labels at all. So what we can do next is we can plot it properly. And what we can do first is we can say the x-axis is, for example, the df.index column. If we look back on our data frame, the index column is this one here, where it says 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So basically that's the categories over here. And our y-axis, so the ones that we want to plot against, is we can say, for example, y1 could be df, and then we put square brackets, and then we could say, for example, the year 2000. And then we could say y2. So our other plot that we want to plot could be df, let's say, for example, 2020. So if we wanted to plot last year's graph, basically. And what we're going to do later is we're going to label. We're just going to leave that empty for now. And the next thing we can do is we want to put the size of what we actually want to do. So we can say plt.figure. And we can say our fig size is, for example, we could say 12 and 10. I found that to be quite a reasonable size. Let's just run that and see what happens. Hold on. We need to put some brackets, sorry, there we go. Yeah, so it doesn't really show anything just yet. And what we know is we want to actually plot the whole thing, because it doesn't show anything because we haven't any plots. So we can say plt.plot. And we can say X, and then we have our next argument, which is Y1. And we can also give it a line style to make it a bit more interesting to look at. For example, we could give it dashes, 2 dashes over here. And we could give it a color. So, Digi, what color should we take for the first one? What do you think? Red, blue, green.
Probably blue.
Should we take blue? Yeah, so let's do blue. And we can also plot a second graph. So we can say plt.plot. And we can say X and Y2. We can do a different line style for that one. For example, we could say maybe dots. And what color should we do for the second one, Digi?
Red.
Should we do red? Yeah, sounds good. Okay. And just to give it a little bit of, a little bit more pizzazz, we could say, for example, we could give it a title. So plt.title. For example, we could say offenses by year. We could give it an X label and a Y label for the X-axis and the Y-axis. So for the X label, that could be categories. And for the Y label, for the Y-axis, we could say, for example, number of cases. Okay. And the last thing we could do is we could have a legend. So we actually know what year is what graph. So plt.legend. Now we need to give it a list. So for example, we could say, so we need to put them in order. So first we have 2000 and then we have 2020. So first we say 2000 and then we say 2020. Okay, let's just run that and see what happens for now. Okay, so we have a little graph. And Digi, what do you think, just looking at it, what can you interpret from this graph?
Okay, I can see this say graph plots, number of cases versus the category. Yeah, so we can see that we have in 2000 and okay, I think in 2000 there was a bit higher crime in 2000,
right,
than in 2020.
I mean, we don't know whether it's being reported less last year or whether it's actually decreased. I guess that's not really our job, but basically just looking at it, that's kind of
based
what
on
it
the
looks like.
visualization, you can just say, okay, there was less crime in 2000.
Yeah. Okay, so it is a little bit naked. What we can do is we can just add some X ticks and we can add some X tick labels as well. So under our figure, what we need to do in order to adjust our X ticks, we need to create an axes object. And what we can do is we can say ax dot plt, x equals plt.subplot and then once that's done, what we can do is we can say x dot set set underscore x ticks, and what we want to add is our x, basically our x df index up here. And then the next thing we can do is x dot set x tick labels. And what we want to pass in is we can put in our labels that we're going to define in a second. And we also want to rotate them a little bit, otherwise they won't be visible. So we're going to rotate them by 30 degrees. Labels. Okay. Yeah. So for our labels, there's one more thing that I learned while I was researching for this one. If your labels are too long, your labels are going to be off. Okay. So before I want to do anything else, I want to actually get a list of all the offenses that we have. So what I can do is I can say df.offense. And I want to convert it to a list. Next slide. And now I get a list of all the offenses that we have. So I pass them in. Okay, and I'm just going to run it and you're going to see what I mean. So if you have a little look here, it looks really off, right? And it also took me a long time to figure that one out. But what you want to do is you want to shorten them. So for example, here you can say simply murder. Here you can say rape, robbery. Here we can just say assault maybe. Then we have larceny. Then we have, instead of grand larceny of a motor vehicle, we can just maybe say GL maybe for car. And then for the last one, we can just say total and see what happens. Okay. Okay, and what it does now, it aligns all the ticks properly. Okay, so that's another trick. You shouldn't make your tick labels for too long. Okay. For the last bits, they're really quite quick. We're almost there, basically. What we're going to do is we're going to look at a little pie chart. Let me just add that down here. Okay. And what we can do is we can say plt.figure like we did before. And this one we want to make a little bit smaller, otherwise it's not going to display really well. For this one, I chose 6 and 4. Okay. Did you, by the way, I can see a lot of messages in the chat. Are you keeping an eye on those? I haven't looked at them yet.
Yes, I am. So
you're on the ball. Yeah, okay. And then what we want to do is we want to say plt.py. And for this one, we don't actually need X, but we need Y. So for example, we could say Y1. Y1, if you remember, is up here, our data frame for 2000. Okay. We say Y1. And our labels are our labels. So we just set them equal to labels. And now we also want maybe the percentages. And what we can do is auto PCT equals. And now we have 2 percentage marks. And if I wanted to have, for example, just one, what do you call it? One point after the comma, sorry, what you could do is 0.1.
Okay, Laura,
yeah.
But someone is asking, what's the purpose of using plt figure.figure?
Pl.figure it basically sets the size that you want to display. We can change it. So for example, if we wanted to do, for example, 14 and let's say, for example, 12, it changes the size. That's all it does. So like so. Now it's a bit bigger.
So 14 words, 12 words.
I'm not quite sure actually. Units. So on Codecademy, they normally used 8 and 10. For example, here I liked 12 and 10. I can look it up. Do you want me to look it up now?
No, I think, okay, I was thinking probably is the sites, the data will be displayed on both sides, both the horizontal and vertical aspect of visualization. So let's just confirm it together. Can you count the data on the right? Can you count it from 175,000, right? Count those. Can you scroll up?
Yeah. Do you want me to scroll up? Did you say?
Yeah. Scroll up to the graph.
The data frame.
No. The visualization, the output.
Yeah. The output.
Plotted, that plot.
Yeah.
So we have on this side. From 0 up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So scroll. I want to see the last digits. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So on the bottom, how many data do we have at the bottom? The horizontal aspect.
The categories, basically.
Yeah, categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So I don't think that's what's. I'm just trying to confirm if that's what the figure does. So that's not it. So let's move on. So what figure did you set for this plot?
This one is basically it's a line plot.
Did you set a figure for this?
Yeah, I did. It's just up here. So here's plt.figure, and it sets up the figure, the size of it.
Okay, just go ahead.
Yeah.
Figure that out before the end of the event.
Yeah, we're almost finished. I'm going to wrap up in a minute. Okay, so now what it does is it gives us 1 decimal point. And the next thing we can do is plt.access in order for it to display, as otherwise it'll be skewed. So we say plt.access and we put it to equal. And the last thing we could do maybe is we can give it a title. So for example, plt.title. And we can say, for example, offenses, we can say maybe the breakdown. Okay. And now we run this and wait. Let's have a look. Hold on. Let me get my notes. I1, labels, WCT, plt.access. Let's have a look. Tuple object is not callable. Hold on, what am I doing wrong? plt.figure. I need to put a fig, sorry, I need to put a fig size first. That's what I need to do. Okay. Sorry, fig size. Okay. Fig size equals. plt.figure. Okay, I've literally got it in front of me. I must be doing something wrong. I'm not sure what it is. I'm gonna have to have a look again. Yeah, let's just wrap up. Hold on, Gigi, can you see what I'm doing wrong? I'm doing something wrong. What is it?
Yeah,
Tuple
I
object is not
think
callable.
the error is actually there. The tuple object is not callable. So I think you should need to remove those brackets. I think it's from the brackets.
Sorry, which ones?
Figure.
Yeah.
No, figure.
It's something to do with the figure. Let me, so it worked up here. Let me just try and copy that one, see what happens.
That's, I don't think. I see. I'm not fully along here, so.
Sorry, come again, please. I've got it literally in front of me the way I typed it, and it displays perfectly. plt.figure fig size tuple not callable.
Try fig size equals to 6,4.
Yeah. The brackets match. plt figure fig size. Okay. Do you know what? I'm gonna find out. Maybe I'm gonna find out and send that out in the newsletter when I wrap up the event. I'm gonna have to investigate. I'm not sure why it does that.
Yeah, the code for the fig size is incorrect.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I've got it literally in front of me. That's how I put it in when I was preparing for the event. It's exactly the same code.
Okay, I think okay, you can check the chat. I think we have.
Yeah. Okay. Let's somebody just put in a message. Let's try their code, see what happens. Thank you, Kwanda. plt.py is a tuple.
Okay, that's no. Coding for you. It's really in front of you, but you can't figure out what. I think that was what happened. I think where we did our first Python event. After I ended up finding out that the error was just an equal to sign. I forgot to add. Coding can't be that.
Don't type any value. Okay. Let's try that. No.
So you need to return back to your code. Return back to your code. And you can try the default.
Yeah.
Back to your code.
Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to investigate. Maybe I'm going to send it out in the newsletter, in the chat, okay? Because I can't figure it out right now, and I don't want to go into overtime. So, are there any questions? Remove that one. Let's try that. Okay. T.figure. Tuple is not callable.
So give me the same error, right?
Okay. Still an error.
I just need to check through. It just be one little error. And it's actually from the error. We have objects not callable. So that's where the problem is. So I don't think it's the axis.
Something to do with the axis. Okay, let's try maybe Y2. Tuple object is not callable. Something to do with the labels. No, the labels are fine.
Where's the object? There's a list.
Yeah. Try clearing the output and running the cells again. Okay. Okay, let's do that. No. Kernel restart the output. Okay. Okay. Clear all output. Okay, we can try that.
I'm actually loving this process now to work it together.
Okay. Good fun. Okay. And let's try and run everything again. Cell run all. Yeah, let's try that. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I'm not. What do you think happened?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't think the error is in the code. I think it's a problem with your the kernel. So you needed to restart. So that's just the debugging session we just learned actually. In this session,
I learned something new.
I've never experienced this actually, but this is a new information. Sometimes it might be breaking your head with a code, and whereas the thing you just need to do is just restart everything and everything comes back. And most time, even your phone, your device, sometimes what you just did is just simple restart, and everything works perfectly.
Another work of, have you tried turning it off and on again?
So,
oh man.
So that was awesome, Laura. Well done. That was an impressive session. Thank you for that. We were able to so from the output we we're able to analyze the crime rates in New York City. And, you know, with this visualization, for example, from the pie chart, I can tell that the least crime in New York at that particular time is I think rape. Is it rape or murder? They're collapse into each other. I think rape or murder or something like that. So so from here I can actually say you actually told me a story from this simple pie chart. You know, instead of looking through a stream of data, long data, I can just visualize and say, okay, yeah, this assault was this percentage from this visualization. So that's the importance of data visualization. So we're going to make the video available just in case you want to try it out on your local environment, just in case you're not following. Try it out, you know, work on other data. We have so many, I don't know, Laura, can you provide links to, probably have links to like data resource? I think you shared one with me one time. I don't know if you still have it. Links to where they can get data, this kind of data, like this data you just extracted, New York crime data. You have a link where they can get all those data resource from. Real life data they can play with. You have a link. If you have a link, you can just share, or we're going to share that with the resource after the event.
Yeah, sounds good.
So let's move straight to the
yeah, just a little side note, if you need to save it, you can say file, save, and checkpoint. And that's when it saves your file, basically. So then you don't lose your data. Yeah. Sorry, did you say you want to go straight to the quiz? Did you say?
Let's take 5 minutes question. I don't know, somebody might have a question. So let's take 5 minutes question.
Yeah.
So if you have a question, just ask before proceed to the next stage.
Okay.
So
is there a way to increase spaces for the pie labels? I think there is. I would have to look it up. Do you want me to look it up right now? I think you can rotate them.
Spaces. I think that's where the the PLT.figure, that's where it comes in. The 12.4 is actually a measure of the size, the pixels of your visualization. So those values, those 12, those figure you set 12.4 is actually the size of the dot per inch of the size of the visualization. So yes, exactly. Fixed size takes care of the size of the chart. So the larger the size of the visualization, the more space you have in between them.
Okay, and then somebody's asking, what's the takes care of the size? Yeah, will be better represented. Okay, somebody's asking, what's the purpose of plt.access equal? What it does is, if you don't use it, sometimes it kind of skews it. So
yes, equal. It's really self-explanatory. Equal axis, y-axis, y-axis, equal axis. So it kind of make your plots looks squarish in a certain way. So the axes are equal and it's better represented.
Yeah, that's it.
So any other question? I think we are right over time. I didn't want this to happen, but let's just go straight to the quiz.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, let me just start up the quiz, and let me just share the link first of all as well. So 1 moment. So the link to the quiz is just over here. I'm just going to put it in the chat, like so. And I'm just about to start it.
Click on the link and
yeah, I'm just going to follow along on my phone just to make sure everything works as well. The other thing, if you don't want to click on the link, what you can do is you can go to menti.com and you can put in a code, which I'm just going to screen share. Just 1 moment. There we go. Okay. You gotta go. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Thank you, Hyo-san. Yeah. Can you see the quiz on the screen?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to mention, okay, I think we're stopping the recording now.
Yeah.